You are looking at the most dangerous place on the planet. Welcome back, Charlie here. Our world is amazing, but there are some places you should never go to if you like being alive. From a forbidden island with a mysterious concrete dome, to a place where simply breathing the air will end your life. First, let's look at this very scary abandoned island. This is Vozrozhdeniya Island. It is found between Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan. The island used to be used by the Soviet Union. They had many labs, and in these labs they would develop biological weapons. They would take viruses and diseases and weaponize them. They would use anthrax, smallpox, and plague. Not the kind of things anyone should be messing around with. In 1991, the Soviet Union dissolved. All of these scientists quickly evacuated this lab, leaving it an abandoned and dangerous mess. But there's a big problem. In the last few years, some of these facilities have begun to leak, meaning that viruses and diseases have leaked into the soil of this island. If anyone steps foot on this soil, they may not make it out alive. Also, rodents and fleas could be carrying these deadly viruses and diseases. Let's hope they don't make it off this island, otherwise they could potentially spread to the entire world. It is illegal to visit this island, but a few urban explorers have dared to go here. The way I see it, this island is a ticking time bomb. Moving on, let's look at one of the most dangerous places in the world. It may not look like it, but this place is totally natural. This is the Danakil Depression. This place looks like an alien planet, but it can be found in northwest Ethiopia. It looks like a radioactive wasteland. That's because all of the colors are green, yellow, and orange. It may look very beautiful, but I would not recommend you go here. It is one of the deadliest places in the world. It's located in between 3 tectonic plates, meaning that earthquakes in the area are very common. These cracks have been known to swallow people whole. From these cracks, poisonous sulfur and chlorine gases emerge, meaning that if you breathe this in, you will pass away. There are also many hot springs all around this area. If you step into these waters, you will be boiled alive. The Danakil Depression is also home to 2 active volcanoes. These volcanoes often erupt, creating massive lava lakes. Moving on, let's look at this very eerie and mysterious island. This is found in the Marshall Islands. This island is famous for having a gigantic concrete dome. But what exactly is the point of this dome? Well, inside it is a massive amount of radioactive debris. Runit Island used to be used by the US military to do nuclear tests. From 1946 to 1958, they carried out hundreds of these tests, making the island totally uninhabitable. In total, 67 nuclear bombs were set off on and around this island. This caused massive damage and pollution to the surrounding environment. And decades later, this island is still way too dangerous to go anywhere near. The island is 10 times more radioactive than Chernobyl. But how does that explain this massive dome? Well, in 1977, the military attempted to fix this problem. They decided to bury all of the radioactive debris under the island, and then seal it under a 350-foot concrete dome. But this dome was never supposed to be a permanent solution, and already massive cracks have formed on this dome, meaning that radioactive debris is seeping out at this very moment. Now let's move into the ocean and look at another place you should absolutely never go to. In Belize, you will find the Great Blue Hole. This is a 407-foot deep hole in the ocean. The Great Blue Hole is so massive it can be seen from space. But it's also one of the most dangerous places on the planet. Every year, divers are pulled underneath this hole and never make it back out. That's because the sides of the hole have very strong currents. The Great Blue Hole is also infested with sharks. Next, we have to look at Gruinard Island. Gruinard Island can be found off the coast of Scotland. It was used by the British military to test biological weapons. But this led to anthrax polluting this island. This caused all of the sheep on the island to pass away. No one lives on this island, and you're not allowed to go on there. There are traces of the Siberian plague left in the soil to this day. This means humans won't be able to live on this island for hundreds of years. Next, let's look at one of the coldest places on the planet. This is Oymyakon. The tiny town is found in eastern Russia. Only 500 people live in this town. It is the coldest inhabited place on the planet. It's normally around -58 degrees Fahrenheit, but it can go as low as -90 degrees Fahrenheit. It's very hard for the people who live here. If they lose the key to their house or get a flat tire, this could end their lives. Because pipes freeze, they need to use outhouses instead of toilets. And no crops or animals can live out here, so they have to eat only frozen meat and fish. Also, sometimes the people who live here freeze to death. It's also very expensive to live here. If you want to go outside safely, you need a special coat. These special coats cost around $1,500. The average wage in this town is only $600 per month, meaning many people have to take out loans to buy these jackets just to stay alive. Staying in Russia, let's look at the Mir Mine. The Mir Mine is one of the most dangerous places on Earth. It was built as a diamond mine and is over 1,700 feet deep. It is one of the largest man-made holes on Earth. Back in 2017, a leak caused this hole to be filled with water. The hole is so deep it's illegal for helicopters to fly over it. That's in case they're sucked in by downward air currents. This place is truly terrifying. Finally, let's look at one more forbidden island you can't go to. This is the island of Surtsey. In 1963, a massive underwater volcano erupted. This created a new island that was named Surtsey. It's one of the most recently formed islands in the world, but it's a very dangerous and deadly place. Only scientists are allowed on the island for research purposes. There are some places on Earth you are not allowed to go to, but sometimes explorers go to banned and illegal places. Welcome back, Charlie here. Today we'll look at people who went to places they weren't allowed to go to and regretted it. From a couple who went to an abandoned cannibal island, to a boy who went into an abandoned house and never made it out. The first story we'll look at has this very scary and real video to go with it. In 1990, a man went down to the catacombs of Paris. The Paris catacombs are the world's largest underground cemetery. They were made during the 1700s when the city had a massive cemetery shortage. In the tunnels underground Paris, there are over 6 million bodies buried. It is illegal to go down there, but over the years, some urban explorers have dared to enter the catacombs. One such case happened in 1990. A man went into the catacombs with a black and white video recorder. The video starts normally with the man walking around the catacombs. He even picks up a few bones along the way. But as the video goes on, he seems to get more and more scared. He begins walking at a much faster pace. Eventually, he begins to panic and starts running. It's almost like someone or something was chasing him, although it appeared he was alone in the catacombs. Finally, he drops the camera on the ground and then runs off into the darkness. The video ends when the tape runs out or the camera runs out of battery. Fast forward 10 years to 2000 and this tape recorder was found. Some more urban explorers down below found the tape recorder and shared the video. It's safe to say this video is totally real. The man who filmed this never came forward, and many believe he was lost in the catacombs, never to be found again. Over the years, the skeletons of many explorers lost in the catacombs have been found. Sadly, that's likely what's happened to the man who recorded this footage. The most terrifying part about this is we don't know what the man was running away from. Many say that the catacombs are haunted, but even if you don't believe in ghosts, it's clear this man saw something that made him so scared he ran into a dark labyrinth never to be seen again. Now let's look at another place people were not supposed to go to but went to anyway. This is the abandoned island of Nuku Hiva. It is found in French Polynesia. In 2011, this explorer couple went to the island. But what they did not know was, on this island lived a cannibal. This couple named Stefan Rami and Heike Dorsch were from Germany. They traveled by boat to the abandoned island of Nuku Hiva. When they arrived on the island, they met a local named Henry Haiti. The couple made a big mistake and began talking to Henry. If they knew what his tattoo meant, they probably would have avoided him. He has a cannibal warrior tattoo on his shoulder. Henry said that he would take Stefan on a hunting trip. But a few hours later, only Henry came back. Stefan's girlfriend, Heike, asked Henry what had happened to Stefan. That's when Henry pulled out a gun. He tried to fire, but thankfully the safety was on. He then tied Heike up. Thankfully, Heike was able to escape and fled to police. A manhunt was then initiated for Henry Hating. According to the Daily Mail, Henry cooked and ate Stefan. In 2014, Henry was sentenced to 28 years in prison for what he did. Now, let's move on to a scary story about why you should never go inside abandoned homes. On December 20th, 2019, 14-year-old Harley Dilley went to school. It was the last day before vacation, but the day before he'd got into a big argument with his parents. They had confiscated his phone, and that afternoon, Harley did not come home. Harley's parents called the school and they said he was there, but the school said they did not know where he went after school. At first, his parents were not worried. That's because Harley was known to run away after getting into big arguments with his parents. He would normally come back the next night, but this time, he didn't. So Harley's parents got worried and called the police. A big search party was launched, but Harley was never found. But 1 month later, the police went into the vacant home across the road from Harley's house. Harley had been seen on surveillance camera walking near the house. Police went inside and searched around the house, but there was no sign of Harley. But then in one of the bedrooms upstairs, they found Harley's jacket. It was right underneath an air vent. One cop put his arm inside the air vent and quickly pulled it out. The cop then said, "There's someone inside." Harley's body was then found inside the air vent of this house. But how did he get there? Well, it turned out Harley had tried to go into this house through the chimney. The top of the chimney was wide, but what Harley did not realize was the chimney got thinner as it went down. This meant as Harley went down the chimney, it got more and more narrow and he got stuck. He thought he was stuck because of his jacket, so he took it off and pushed it out of an air vent. But the chimney got thinner and thinner and Harley could not escape. Soon Harley was not able to breathe and sadly passed away inside the chimney. This is a heartbreaking story showing why you should never go inside an abandoned house. Now let's move on to an island you should never go to, but one that people have gone to anyway and paid the ultimate price. 93 miles off the coast of Brazil, you will find Ilha de Camada Grande, better known as Snake Island. This island is illegal to go to. That's because it's home to the most snakes out of any island in the world. The snakes on the island are the golden lancehead vipers, one of the deadliest and most venomous snakes in the world. And they are only found on this island, nowhere else in the world. One day a man on his boat was near the island when he saw a banana tree on the island was full of fruit. So he pulled up to pick some bananas. But as he was picking the bananas, he felt a sharp pain. He looked down to his rib cage and realized he was bleeding. He ran back to his boat to try and get help, but as soon as he got back into his boat, he collapsed and passed away. That's because if you don't get this snake's antidote in 15 minutes, you will pass away. There's literally a 0% chance of survival if you don't get this. And the nearest hospital is over 100 miles away. Another scary story from this island involves its lighthouse. A lighthouse keeper was given a job to work on this island. He brought his family with him and for the first few years everything was okay. But at some point passing ships realized the lighthouse was never on. So they reported it to the mainland, who went to the island to investigate. When the officials got to the island, they found the lighthouse keeper and his family all deceased. All over their bodies were puncture marks from the vipers. It seemed they'd left a window open one night and the snakes had got in. The golden lancehead viper's venom actually melts your organs. It's a very painful way to go. And sadly, that is what happened to many people who dared venture onto this island. Finally, let's look at one more very scary story. This did not occur on land, but instead at sea. In 2003, Kurt Krull was a German engineer aboard a container ship. One day he was getting the ship ready in the engine room. He had to make sure something known as the scavenger air receiver was sealed. There are many bolts which seals this air receiver. Kurt was being quick and only checked one of these bolts. Him and his crew then left the engine thinking it was all done, but later on Kurt realized he'd only checked one bolt, and if something went wrong then he would get the blame, so he went back down to check the other bolts. He did not want anyone else to know he was second guessing himself, so he had to do this alone. This involved him going inside the scavenger air unit by himself, something that should never be done. A few hours later it came time for the ship to leave, but no one had seen Kurt. They began searching and could not find him anywhere, but that's when one engineer noticed a rag hanging off the scavenger air unit. The chief engineer of the ship then opened up the scavenger air unit, but they did not open up the scavenger air unit with the rag. Instead, they opened up the wrong one. Kurt was not found and they had no choice but to set off for sail. So they fired up the engine and went on their way. But 2 days later, the scavenger air unit had to be checked. When they opened it up, they found a terrible sight. Inside was Kurt. When the engine started, the scavenger air unit began to heat up, meaning that Kurt was accidentally cooked alive. Just imagine how bad his fellow crew members felt knowing they accidentally took his life. Google Earth allows you to explore the entire world, but there are some places you should never search. Welcome back, Charlie here. You're about to see some of the most scary and mysterious places on Google Earth. But I have to warn you, many of these places have incredibly dark backstories. First, let's head over to Norman's Cay in the Bahamas. There is something very mysterious hiding in these waters. Can't see it? What about now? As you can see, there is a plane in the water. You may wonder what happened to this crashed plane, and why has it never been recovered? Well, this plane was actually owned by one of the most evil men to ever live. I am talking about Pablo Escobar. Pablo Escobar is the most famous drug lord and narco-terrorist of all time. He was the founder and sole leader of the Medellin cartel of Colombia, and he is responsible for taking over 4,000 lives. But how did his plane end up here? Well, Pablo Escobar had many planes going from the USA to Colombia. On the way, the planes would use Norman's Cay as a refueling point. But this plane did not make it to Norman's Cay before it could refuel. The crew dumped all of their illegal cargo into the sea. This was so the plane would run on less fuel. But this wasn't enough and the plane still crashed into the sea, taking the life of the pilot and co-pilot. Everyone was way too scared to touch this plane, and even the local government did not want to go near it because of how feared Pablo Escobar was. So that's why to this day Pablo's plane remains here, rotting away and dissolving underwater. Now let's take a trip to Florida, USA. Take a look at this neighborhood. It looks pretty normal, right? Well, that's what everyone thought for 20 years, until one man who was browsing Google Earth noticed something strange. If you zoom in, you can make out a shape in this lake. And this shape is actually a car. The car belonged to a man named William Mould. When he was 40, he went for a drive one night and never returned home. It was a mystery because him and his car were never found. His family lost hope, but they never forgot about William. But after 20 years, someone noticed the car on Google Maps. The Google Earth user contacted authorities, and they pulled the car out of the lake. Inside, they found a body, and it was later confirmed to be William. Found 22 years after he went missing. It's believed William accidentally drove off the road and into this lake. It's very sad that he passed away, but his family were grateful to finally have an answer as to what happened to him after all these years. Now they can finally have closure, and know that William did not run away and abandon them. Moving on, let's take a look at this scary discovery made in Antarctica. In 2020, a Google Earth user spotted something strange in Antarctica. As you can see, it appears there is a body that's been left in the snow. There are many research stations in Antarctica, and it's believed one of these scientists may have ventured out and got lost in the snow. It's a very creepy and mysterious find. But because this place is so remote, no one is able to go out here and check. Maybe at some point in the future we will have more answers about this mysterious figure. But for now, who this figure is remains a Google Earth mystery. But I think an even more mysterious place on Google Earth is found in Arugwa Island. Arugwa Island is a tiny island in Tanzania. If you go here on Google Earth, there isn't much to see, but there is a photosphere. If you click on this, you see something incredibly scary. There appears to be a dark and dingy room. All over the walls, there are red splatters. And written on the door, it says, "You trusted the wrong guy." It also says, "You're too late, turn back now." And there also appears to be a figure holding some kind of weapon. You may be asking, what's going on here? The room does seem to be real, but clearly things have been added. For example, the man appears to be computer generated, and some of the graphics also look fake. But either way, this location raises many questions. Where is this actual room? Who created this image? And why did they put it on Arugwa Island? It's safe to say this place is incredibly creepy and mysterious. Some have even compared it to the Backrooms. But right now, this find remains a Google Earth mystery. Now let's move on to a scary Google Earth location which is not mysterious at all. In fact, we almost know too much about this place. If you go to this neighborhood on Google Maps, it looks pretty normal. And when you enter Street View mode, you simply see nice houses on a sunny day. Except for this place. You may wonder why one house on this street is blurred out. Why would Google Maps censor this house? Well, this house was one of the worst crime scenes in America. The house is 2207 Seymour Avenue in Cleveland, Ohio. It belonged to a man named Ariel Castro. He is one of the most evil criminals to ever live. He kidnapped and imprisoned 3 women at this house. He kept them captive in the basement for over 10 years. But eventually one of these women escaped and they were freed. Of course, after Ariel was arrested and imprisoned, the house was abandoned. But because the house is so creepy, many people began breaking in. They had a morbid curiosity about how the inside of this evil house looked. So that's why Google Maps decided to blur out the house. They hoped that by censoring this house, less people would go here and break in. I'm not sure why anyone would want to go to this terrifying house. And I can see why Google Maps chose to censor this house. Now let's head over to the island of Fiji. Do you notice anything strange off the coast of this tropical island? If not, then how about now? As you can see, a plane has crashed off the coast of this island. Oil has leaked out of the plane into the sea. And this bright light is the plane reflecting in the water. It's scary to think who could have been on this plane. I did some research, but it seems the reason this plane crashed is unknown. Now let's look at a very mysterious place found underwater. This location is found off the coast of the Bahamas. You may be wondering what these mysterious squares are in the water, but here's where things get even more weird. You can actually go into Street View underwater. Many believed that this was some kind of lost city found underwater. And there were even some people online speculating this may be the lost city of Atlantis. But I have an explanation for this mystery. It turns out these mysterious underwater structures are actually a coral nursery. Fragments of coral are placed on metal coral trees. They then grow large and healthy enough to become coral reefs. This is a project being done by people restoring the coral reefs of the Bahamas. Various other coral nurseries have been found on Google Earth, and many people wrongly believe they're Atlantis or some kind of lost city. Atlantis may be real, but it certainly is not here. Now, going back on land, let's look at this very small town in the Czech Republic. This place looks like a ghost town. But what if I told you it literally is? If you enter Google Street View mode on this church, you can see it's filled with ghosts. The church is called Kostel Svatého Jiří, and all around the abandoned church are statues of ghosts. Some believe these statues may have been grave markers, but it's very eerie how they appear to be sitting on the pews as if they're real people. Of course, many say this church is haunted. It was created in 1352 and is no longer used today. It's safe to say this is one very terrifying sight to see. Moving on, let's look at this very scary sight in Antarctica. In the Antarctic Ocean, there is a very mysterious dark blob. But if you zoom into this blob, you see what appears to be a kraken. Krakens are said to be gigantic octopuses. And it does appear that this could be what we're looking at right now. The creature does appear to be an octopus, and it's clearly massive in size. It also seems to have a big white eye, and is making humongous waves in the water. This area of the ocean is very unexplored, and researchers say we don't really know what lives in the Antarctica waters. So perhaps krakens or something similar are a real phenomena here. Also in Antarctic waters appears to be a real megalodon shark. At least that's what many people are calling it. Located in this dark patch of water seems to be a massive ocean creature. Some have said this could be a whale or shark, but others say it's far too big to be any kind of modern creature. And that's why some speculate this could be a real-life megalodon still alive today. Finally, let's head over to Houston, Texas to see one more very scary Google Earth mystery. This looks like a very ordinary cul-de-sac, until you enter Google Street View mode. Then if you approach the house at the end of this road, you see a very ominous dark figure on this unbuilt house. There are many theories as to who this could be. Strange dark figures have been reported all over Texas before, and many say that Google Maps caught a Mothman-like creature on camera here. But right now this remains a total mystery and we don't really know what this is. You are looking at a place that should not exist. Welcome back, Charlie here. You may think the laws of gravity apply everywhere on Earth, but not in these places. From a hill where cars roll upwards, to a house in America where gravity doesn't work. First, we have to look at this upside down waterfall. This waterfall is real. It's found in Chile. As you can see, the water's not flowing down, but upwards. It seems like this waterfall is defying the laws of physics. Is this magic? Well, the answer is less mysterious than you'd think. The water flows upwards because of incredibly strong winds coming from below. This pushes the water in the opposite direction, making it look like the water flows upwards. Similar waterfalls have been seen in Australia and India. Another one of these can also be found in Hawaii, known as the Waipahiya Falls. All of these waterfalls are inverted for the same reason, strong winds. But if you see one of these, then be very careful. You can actually be blown over by the immense pressure of this water. Moving on, we have to look at the mystery spot. In Santa Cruz, USA, there's a very mysterious place where gravity does not work. This place was discovered by George Prizer in 1939. He was walking around this area when all of a sudden he felt dizzy. He then checked his compass and realized the arrow was going crazy. So he decided to buy the land and build a house on it. He soon realized that the building defied gravity. You could stand and bend at many different angles. It seems like you should fall over, but you simply don't. Water flows upwards in this house, and spherical balls roll upwards. But what creates this mysterious spot? Well, some believed a magmatic crater under the house could be responsible, but as of yet we really don't know. This place really does make you question what we think we know about physics. You can even lean forwards at a 45-degree angle and not fall over. Maybe that's how Michael Jackson did it all those years. Moving on, we have to look at the Hoover Dam. The Hoover Dam is one of the biggest tourist attractions in all of the USA, but one of the most amazing things about it is its apparent lack of gravity. If you stand on top of the dam and try and pour some water down it, it won't go down. On the contrary, it will pour upwards. But how does the water fly upwards like this? Well, scientists believe it's because of the size of this massive construction. Its gigantic size creates a powerful flow of air. This pushes any objects away from its edges. But if you jump over the edge, would you fly? Well, unfortunately not. But light objects, for example ping pong balls, won't go over the edge. And of course, water won't fall over the edge either. It simply gets repelled by the very powerful airflow. Now we have to look at the magnetic hill. You may think that it's impossible for a car to roll up a hill, but go to New Brunswick, Canada, and you can see the magnetic hill. Gravity seems to not work at all. All cars roll upwards on this hill. This was discovered in the 1930s when cars became popular in the area. area. The drivers were shocked when they stopped at the bottom of the hill but then began to roll upwards. It seems paranormal or magical, but there is an explanation. Some say it's simply an illusion because of how the road was built. That's because slight inclines look like rises, making people think their cars are rolling uphill. But for now, this is simply a theory. Do you think this road really is anti-gravity, or is it all an illusion? Moving on, let's look at Mount Aragats. Mount Aragats can be found in Armenia. Every year, thousands of tourists come from miles around to see this amazing anti-gravity mountain. If you stop your car at the foot of this mountain, it will begin to roll upwards. This happens even if a car's engine is turned off. If that wasn't weird enough, Mount Aragat's river also flows upwards. And any hikers say it's much easier to walk uphill than downhill. The usual gravity force doesn't work at all in this mountain. So far, the mountain has not been explained. There are many theories, but nothing has yet been confirmed. Some say magnetic plates under the ground could cause this phenomena, while others say it's simply an illusion. You see, the horizon line can't be seen around these mountains, giving the illusion of level ground. Now we have to look at Jeju Island. Jeju is a South Korean island, but on this island something very mysterious goes on. A road on the island seems to totally defy gravity. Bottles roll up this road, and of course so do cars. Because of this, many believed the island could be cursed, while others say this is an illusion. Because of the surroundings, it seems like the area is flat, when really it's a decline. Drivers get very scared when it seems like their cars are traveling uphill all by themselves. Many people come from South Korea and other countries to this island just to see this one road. It really is quite a confusing sight to see. Next, we have to look at the Oregon Vortex. Located in Oregon, USA, this hut defies gravity. It was discovered in 1930, but it has a very chilling backstory. It was built on ancient Native American burial grounds, leading many to believe the place is haunted. For centuries, paranormal events have been reported here, and that's not including the anti-gravity properties of this area. You can lean at 45-degree angles and not fall flat on your face. Bubble levels don't work here, and balls roll upwards. Swings won't even swing back and forth here, only going one way. And if you pour some water from a bottle, it will pour upwards. Zero gravity and paranormal activity seems like a scary mix. Moving on, we have to look at Golden Rock. Located in Myanmar is a rock that seems like it shouldn't exist. This massive rock seems to defy the laws of gravity. The rock is 611 tons, but amazingly, more than half of it hangs off a mountainside. Even when many people are pushing it and praying against it, it won't fall. It sits in a world-famous site for Buddhist pilgrims, leading many to believe the rock could be a miracle. Legend says it's held by one strand of Buddhist hair, but whether that's true or not, it's amazing this rock has not fallen yet. The rock has been here for hundreds of years, but I'd still be very scared to walk underneath it, just in case. Floating rocks have been seen in other places around the world. For example, the Stone of Davosco in Argentina, and this floating rock in Australia. Many say this photo could simply be an illusion, while others maintain that no gravity works in this area. Finally, we have to look at the Cosmos Mystery Spot. The Cosmos Mystery Spot is where physics seems to not work. This place is found in South Dakota, USA. You can lean at amazing angles and never fall. It's also very hard to walk downhill. The entire house really messes with your mind. Things roll upwards instead of downwards. Some believe that this cabin is paranormal, but really it's simply your brain getting confused. The cabin is built on a 20-degree tilt, but this is not noticeable when you're inside, leading to many people getting very disorientated and confused. I think it's safe to say there's so much about the world we simply don't know. Maybe the laws of physics aren't as they seem. It really does appear like in some of these places gravity does not exist, but other places seem paranormal or perhaps even magic. But if you ever go to one of these places, then you must be careful. There have been instances of people getting injured or even dying going to these places. Do you know any more of these amazing anti-gravity locations in the world? If you do, then tell me in social networks and I'll share it in an upcoming video. But now it's time for you to make your voice heard. Leave me a comment, which was the most mysterious place in this video. If you want to see my shorts, then check out my shorts channel. I've been Charlie, thanks for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and if you haven't already, then what are you waiting for? Subscribe to Top 10s.